and you should be seeing my sales dashboard, right? Now, before we delve into the intricacies of the dashboards themselves, let's answer the age-old question, why dashboards? Like, what do they do for me? Well, if you're somebody who's ever had to report to a CEO, your boss, whoever, on something within the company, that's your domain, you know how painstaking and nerve-wracking it can be to fill out CSV spreadsheets 2 minutes to midnight and hoping that you get them done in time. Making a mistake on them, having them returned to you, doing them again, having somebody else make changes to them because they thought it was best, and so on. Or alternatively, if you've ever had to receive such reports from someone, you know, when John sends you the report and then it turns out that Jane didn't fill out her part and it just becomes a mess. The idea behind dashboards is to solve this specific issue, right? To make sure that you can report on things in real time, live, across a whole team of members, right? So that you're all working with the same info and that there's no need for anybody to do any manual adjustments, manual updates. It's all pulling data from productive. In terms of setting the dashboards up, things are fairly similar, right? So we go to dashboards to our home screen by clicking the productive logo here in the top left. So if I'm in project management, I want to return home, I click here. I have a list of all of my dashboards here. If I want to add a new one, I would click this button here. So new dashboard. And when I have it within the screen, I would click add new widget here, or I can even create it from here. Now, if I click this or this, I'll be shown my own database of reports. Like, so all of the reports that I have created will be here, and I simply click on them and pull them in, right? I can then resize them, pull more widgets in, and effectively these are used as a bundle, as groups of reports within my dashboard, right? Now, within each of these elements here, we call this a widget. What we can do is we can always change the fields that are displayed, change the filters, change the currency, change group, change sorting, just as if you were in a normal report. And you can also change the display type, so we can go from table to chart, and then do various different chart types here to make things a bit more colorful. Once you have this in place, you can always refresh an individual dashboard using this. You can duplicate it, move it, whatever. And just remember that once you have made a dashboard up to your standards, simply hit Save Changes and you're good to go. Once your dashboard has been saved, you can share it by clicking here, and then share it either with individuals like Bruce, Natasha, Steve here, or you can share it with an entire group or team of people. In my case, I have employees as a standard team, and I have PM as my team. I won't go into the details of how sharing and teams specifically works, but that's a topic for a different day. But just know that when you create a dashboard, you can actually share it with a group of people with a few clicks. And this is useful if these groups are dynamic, if they frequently change, because you can then, if you add a person to a team, they gain access to the dashboard. If you remove them, they are removed from accessing the dashboard in the first place. I hope that's all good and clear. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the questions. Feel free to write them down somewhere, and we'll get to questions at the very end once we go through all of the dashboards. With that said, as I mentioned, what I've done here is I've created a few dashboards to show, as I said, to boost your imagination, for you to steal or borrow creatively. So let's get started. What I've done first is I've created a few dashboards. So I've created a total of 6 of them, each aimed at a different segment of productive or a process that you're handling within the organization. And logically, we'll start with sales because that's where things generally start. Now, within my sales dashboard, you'll see that I have quite a few reports. The first one that I have, of course, is active deals by owner, as you can see here in the top left. And it's a very simple report with just a list of reports grouped that are open, grouped by their owner. And what I'm showing here is I'm showing the budget total and the projected revenue, right? So I want to see what the total potential value of the deal is and what is the projected value based on the probability that we have assigned that individual deal. So we can see, for instance, that Bruce has a lot of budget hanging on him, but Luca has significantly less, but Luca is far more optimistic due to his higher percentage of projected revenue. All right, one more thing that I forgot to mention. When we're within a widget, when we're editing it, you can mouse over the little eye here and then see what the data source is. This is cool, so you know how how a widget was created. Next up, active deals by stage. So I just want to see where my deals are landing, and I see that deal specification proposal sent. This is my distribution. Ideally, I would want, in my case, to have as many deals in green in proposal sent, but I'm hoping that these yellow and red ones will eventually make their way over to green. Now, if this is just a general brief, at a glance overview, then this widget below is the opposite. This is a much more detailed insight into how things are looking. So we have all of my deals in the company grouped by owner and by stage. And then we have the individual deals shown with quite a bit of relevant information, right? So I can come here and I can take a look. Okay, so this deal here, something about it is interesting to me. I can just click it from here and be taken to that deal, right? I go back to my dashboard. Now, these widgets here, they're just a general overview. If we scroll down, we'll, like Bob Ross said, you need a row of good and a row of bad. We have a row of bad here. So we have lost deals, stages at which deals were lost and why they were lost. To set up this little thingy here, we would again be using deals. And here below, we would have only filtering down to deals that have been lost. And we group them by their previous stage. So this tells us like at what stage of deal's life cycle it was lost. And unfortunately, it seems that we are losing deals in the proposal sent phase, which maybe means we need to work on our proposals. When combined with this widget, lost deals by reason, we see again filtering by status lost and grouping by lost reason. We see that most of our deals are failing because they are too expensive. So, deals are too expensive, and the client sees that once we send the proposal, maybe we can consider, lowering our prices or, I don't know, targeting a different market, something like that. In any case, this serves us by helping us take action to, negate the negative sides of losing deals. Just a very simple one, recently added deals just to make sure that nothing slips under our radar. So just deals that have been created in the last 7 days. And here on the right, we have a sales revenue projection. So we see here that we're using deals yet again as our data source, and we're grouping them by their date. So we see here how much revenue or how much money in general we are looking to land in each of these months. And we can see a significant drop off in December, which means we can start doing some more work for December. So yeah, quite a few widgets here, quite a few reports, but they're all fairly simple. I hope they are clear. If they're not, we'll get to that at the end. For now, what we'll do is we'll move over to the next logical step in our jobs lifecycle, and that's budgeting. So, budgeting dashboard. One thing that I have to point out here, in my budgeting dashboard, I did not include any financial data. I did not include any data about profitability, revenue, cost, and so on, margins, and so on. I have built a separate dashboard specifically for that. This dashboard, as I have built it, is aimed at budget owners who maybe don't even have access to financial data, and they're just interested in keeping track of the budget to make sure that everything is being delivered in time. With that out of the way, first up here is my active budgets. So this very simply just filters down to my active budgets, so budgets where I'm the owner, and budgets that are open. And I've filled it out with quite a bit of info, like what's our total budget, what's our budget used. I've even set up some goals and limits here, right? So I want to see like, this is a negative number. I want to see it in red. So I'm going to go to set goal limit and set up a goal of 0 and turn on the colorize value option, right? So I see the red one popping out at me immediately. Budget usage, again, red here, forecasted budget overrun. So we're going to be overrunning even more on this budget. And I want to have it shown to me here. And invoiced, so how much of the budget have I already invoiced previously? Although the invoicing dashboard is a separate one that we'll cover in a second. This here report, this here widget, where you are filtering to something where the owner is me dynamic or assignee is me dynamic, this is a good report, a good dashboard to share with other team members, simply because this filter here will adjust to the person that's actually viewing the dashboard. So if I were to share this with other budget owners, they would see their own budgets and not mine. That's a good way to make sure that your team members are looking at the appropriate data. Next up, we have my unscheduled services. Again, this is useful for me if I'm a budget owner. We're looking at services here, not at budgets. And we're looking at all services which have a left to schedule greater than 0, right? And we have it grouped by budget. The idea here, left to schedule simply tells me that the estimate on the service is greater than the total scheduled time on the service. So this essentially means, hey, you still have a lot of scheduling to do, so get to it. I've put it up as a donut, but we can always, switch it to a table if you're like me and you prefer a clean view like this. Now, this is a row that's aimed at me if I'm the budget owner. However, if I'm the supervisor of a whole delivery team or whoever else, then I would set up something like this. So teams budgets. All right. Give me the budgets of everyone that's not me. I'm assuming that everybody in the company is part of my delivery team. And give me all the same data as I have up here, right? So I just want to keep track of how my folks are managing their budgets. And here on the right side, basically the same thing as we have above. So what are they not scheduling? And I see that Steve has yet to schedule 710 hours and Bruce 945. So yeah, we need to crack down on that. Missing time per person and budget, very simple. It looks at last week and tells me, okay, how much time was a person scheduled for? How much time did they actually track? And what is the difference, right? So here, in this case, we see that Bruce actually is missing 40 hours. Luca is being a good boy and he tracked everything, right? So he's doing well. And lastly, here in the bottom right, we have over-serviced budgets. So this is filtering just down to budgets which have a forecasted budget usage greater than 100. Right, so we're just looking at budgets where we are going over budget and highlighting them here. And this is then a good starting point to discuss with your budget owners, whoever else. In this case, I would need to take a good long look at myself. But yeah, that's the budgeting view, the budgeting dashboard that I have. The next thing that I would cover here is utilization. We already covered scheduling here, and we already covered some time tracking. So utilization is the logical next step. Now, in my utilization dashboard, I have to look at two different parts of the equation: past data and future data. How people are tracking time and have been tracking time in the past, and how we are forecast to be utilizing our people in the future. Here on the left, I have two very simple reports. So missing time for last week and missing time for last 30 days. In both of them, I'm using the capacity and availability source and filtering down to just a specific date range. Notice also that I have a very simple formula called missing hours, which is just available minus worked. This is the exact same thing. It's only for a greater time period. And then here under time discrepancies, I have differences between scheduled time and work time, right? So this tells me how much time somebody has worked out of available and if they're missing any. But this tells me where exactly the difference occurred, assuming that I scheduled all of the people to work their full time within productive. So that's my past data, whether somebody has worked or not, these three widgets here. On the right here, I have two widgets that are looking at forecasting data. Now, let's go to this smaller one here. This one simply tells me that in the next 30 days, these people have this availability and they are scheduled for this much. The available hours is simply the available minus scheduled. So assuming that, let's say that I'm a team lead that has like 6-7 people within his team, I want to check here to see how my people are available in the upcoming period. Have they been fully utilized or not? And the one above here does the exact same thing, only on a more global scale. So I'm looking here at the next 6 months, and I'm looking at the departments at my company. So I have only 3. I have design, development, and project management. And I'm looking at how much time these teams actually have available over the coming 6 months. This is useful for me both as like a team lead, a supervisor, and whatnot, but it's also interesting probably to my business development representatives, because then they know how much time they can afford to sell, right? In October, we can't really afford to sell many project management hours because we are already overbooked within that period. We would have to move it to the next month. And it's also useful, like, if a client reaches out to you and says, "Hey, we want you to provide us a service that's, I don't know, 200 hours of design. Okay, when can we deliver it? When most of it can be done in October, and then a little bit in November, right? So it's a good thing for you to also communicate with the client in these early phases. Mark, I see you raising your hand. If that's okay, I would like to first go through everything, and then we'll go to the questions. I hope that's okay. All right. And so once we're done with the work time, with the time that we've actually done working and the forecasting our time, here below we have a very simple setup. On the right is the time off this week. So who is off this week and which days, how much time. And we would use bookings to show this. And on the left here, I have my forecasted billable utilization by month, and the same thing, including tentative bookings. Right, so we can see here that in November, we were at what, 3-4% forecast billable utilization. But in the tentative one, on the tentative side of things, it's up to 12%. So that means that we have some decent tentative bookings set up in November. And that's basically it. In a utilization dashboard like this, we want to look at past data, future data, and combine them in some way. I've also seen examples where people use separate dashboards for the past and future, so whatever floats your boat. Now, after utilization, we want to go over to the task overview. So task overview, if you're using tasks in productive, you should, just to give you warnings and stuff like that related to your tasks. Now, the two widgets on the left here, I think that this is something that everybody that's working in productive should have. So my tasks due this week, so tasks that I have upcoming this week. As the data source, we are using tasks, of course, and we are setting the filter to be due date this week, where I am the assignee, right? So what awaits me this week? My overdue tasks, so tasks that I should have completed already, right? These two are a very good way to start your day in productive, to just see, okay, what awaits me today and what was I supposed to do already? Now, on the left, on the right side, I have overdue tasks on my projects. This is a widget that's useful if I'm a project manager and I want to see all tasks on all of those projects to see if anything is going overdue. Again, we are using tasks as a data source, of course. So due date is year to date, and project manager is me. And then I'm grouping by project, grouping by assignee, and showing individual tasks. And then I can see, okay, Luca here needs to deliver this thing. A lot of tasks don't have an assignee, which is an issue that I would probably want to solve, but that's something that we'll get to in a second. And we also have Steve here who's due a task and so on. So ideally, this report here, this widget would be empty. Recently resolved tasks. This is just, to make sure again that nothing slips under the radar, that I just can get a bit of info here in case I miss some tasks, an important task being closed. You'll also notice that here under priority, the priority is a custom field on a task level, and I've decided to show it here. I won't go into the details of how to set up custom fields on tasks or custom fields in general. Just know that you can do quite a few things with these custom fields, right? And we'll show one such widget in a second. Open and closed tasks by project. This is an interesting one. So this effectively tells me how many tasks, and as a percentage of the total task number, we have not started on a given project, started and closed, right? It basically tells me how many tasks we still have left to complete. Now, this is one way of looking at things, the total count of the tasks. However, not all tasks are made equal. Some tasks, one task can take you 3 minutes, 3 hours to complete, another can take you 30 hours. And we track that using estimates, of course. So if I have this report here, what I can do is I can say, okay, time to complete, hide this, and pivot by time to complete. If I do that, it tells me not the number of tasks, but by the total time that we have in each of these status categories, right? Different way of looking at the same thing could be useful. Variance per project. If you're not familiar, each task in productive has the fields or the attributes initial estimate, which dictates what's the initial estimate, how much time do we believe a task will take us. Time to complete, which is just initial estimate minus the work time. And then variance and completion is a useful thing to have if you are looking to compare the time to complete and the initial estimate, like what is their difference. In essence, this tells you how much you misestimated stuff on your project. And again, like if we see that just website redesign has a -2 hours, that's fine. But if I see that one project manager is consistently and constantly misestimating things on their projects, it's probably something to raise, to discuss internally to see how we can prevent it. And going back to the custom fields that I mentioned before, you can do the same thing to see tasks misestimated on a priority level, on a type level, whatever comes to mind. Project delivery status, this is similar to the open and close tasks by project here. So what's our initial estimate for the whole project? How much time did we work already? And what's our time to complete? So how much time do we have left on this project? High priority tasks, very simple. I have a list of all of the tasks on all projects, filtered to show only critical and high priority. Remember, I set up priority as a custom field on my tasks, and I believe you should too. And lastly here, this is something that's new and interesting, so I'll show it to you separately. So I have a report here that says tasks missing data. So let's assume that within my company, I have an agreement or like an internal standard operating procedure that says each task must have a due date and a priority assigned to it. Without that, we're not going to move it forward. This report does exactly that. It tells me all tasks which have either the priority empty or the due date empty. So how do we do that? Well, tasks missing data with the help of our new filtering in reports, where we can set up or and operators. So in this case, give me tasks where due date is empty or priority is empty. If I were to change this to and, you can see how fewer hits I have, right? So this is new. This is coming out very soon. And with it, you'll be able to build reports like the one that I have here. I hope that's clear. And yeah, that's basically it. Very simple setup on this end. I think we can move onwards. And what awaits us onwards? Well, we still have two left to go, finance and invoicing. So let's hop over to finance. That's the biggest dashboard that I have prepared. I think so, yeah. Now, the first thing that we have to mention when we're discussing finance reports and finance dashboards, if you are doing this, remember that in 99.9% of cases, you want to be using the financials data source. Don't use budgets, don't use services, don't use deals, use financial items, because that's the best way to do it. Once we've built a report using financial items, it's simply a matter of grouping in an appropriate way and showing the data that we want to see. So, and of course, choosing the type, but that goes without saying. In this case, for instance, give me all financial items for this year grouped by month and show it as a fancy line, right? So I can see that my revenue is dropping off near the end of the year, while my costs are not dropping off that much. So we're dealing with a significantly reduced profit. We probably want to look into that. My team's profitability. So again, just financial items filtered down to just the people where I am the manager and this year. And I have a goal set up of 3K. So I can see, okay, that in September, October, and November, hang on. In September, we're meeting our goal. In October and November, not so much. So we want to look into this. Why are we dropping off? Profitability by revenue stream. How are our service types profitable? Again, I've set up a simple goal here of, I think, 15K. Yes, 15K. So anything that's above 15K is green. So we have 3 service types that are profitable: design, front end, and back end. All of the other stuff is not so profitable. Again, it's hard to expect that everything will be equally profitable, and it's very likely that you'll even agree to take a hit on one of your revenue streams, but this is just a way to keep track of how much of a hit it is. Next row, realized profit per person. This is a very simple one. So here we are looking at financial items. We're looking at time entries in the past, of course, grouped by people and by date. So I want to see how profitable my people are. I see that Bruce Dixon here, he's met his target of 3K. Luca also meeting his target here, but not meeting it in August or later on. So, Bruce looking good, Luca not so much, Steve also not so much. So we want to have a chat with Luca and Steve to see what happened. Projected profit per person, same thing, but we're looking into the future. So bookings and timeframes future. What can we expect from our ragtag bunch of employees? Well, Luca looking better, November not so great, and so on. And here on the left, when it comes to profitability, we have our least profitable jobs. So very simple list of all of our deals, all of our budgets that are active. And we have them simply listed by their recognized profit. So we see that the only unprofitable budget that we have in the company is marketing activities. But that's such a small budget that it's not going to take us, it's not going to be that big of a hit. So, overall, we're looking good with 73K of profit. Profitability by office. Again, financials report simply grouped by workplace or by subsidiary, I should say. So I see that Seoul is doing well, Melbourne not so much. They need to pick up the pace. Margin by budget owner. Which of my budget owners are bringing in the most money? Bruce, then Luca, then Steve. And very soon what you'll be able to do in Productive is in a report like this, you'll be able to actually set up a target. Like let's say that the target's 80%. So you'll be able to actually visualize a line here to see what the goal was. Margin by department and profitability by client, simply put at the end. Lastly, invoicing dashboard. So which budgets do we want to invoice? This is using the budget data source. Which invoices do I have to finalize this week? So this is a list of all of my draft invoices, which have a date of this week. So I know I have to finalize them this week. My unpaid invoices amount. So simply filtering down to finalized invoices that have not been paid yet. Profitability by client based on the invoices. Profitability invoice based by month. So we see that we have a drop off in October, expected because today is the 1st of October, and we haven't done any invoicing yet. What are our overdue invoices per client? What's their amounts, due dates, and so on? Where do they land in terms of the expected payment dates? So we see that we have a bit that goes between 15 and 45 days, and some that's within the last 15 days. And lastly, this is an important one if you're using any sort of accounting integration with Productive. So I'm using Xero on my end, and you can use whatever you want on yours. You have this filter here for the invoices that's called copy to accounting. We set this to no, and it will show me all invoices that haven't been copied over. So ideally, this is something that I want to keep empty, but this is a good way to check whether everything was copied over. And that is basically it. You can mix and match these widgets however you see fit, right? You can have a budgeting widget, a task widget, and a finance widget all under the same dashboard, depending on your needs, depending on who you are sharing them with. Just note, yeah, I'm not sure if we mentioned before, but when you create a dashboard, you can favorite it or set it as a default by doing this. So now this is my favorite dashboard. And that's about it. That's a ton of information. I hope that we have some good questions coming up. So yeah, shoot. Let me just open my Q&A session and I'll see. Is it possible to look the webinar back? Yes, you'll be receiving a recording of the webinar once it's done rendering. Can you receive the recording? Yes, you can. Sorry, hit the button by mistake. All right, Mark. Okay, so let's go to your questions. Let us know in the chat what you would be looking to know. All right, so the first question that we have here is, when sharing a dashboard with my teammates, can everyone see everything? That's a good question. When you share a dashboard with either individuals or whole teams of people, that person will only be able to see what their role allows them to see. In other words, let's say that I have a profitability dashboard, and by some streak of accident, whatever, I share the dashboard with a person that's not allowed to see profitability data. They will simply see a message within the widget that says this widget is restricted, right? So there's no chance of you using dashboards to share data with people who are not allowed to see them. That's option one. Option two is that they will be able to see the widget based on their permission, but they won't be able to see the data that is unavailable to them, right? Somebody could have access to see budgets, that the budgets exist, but they're not allowed to see the budget usage. So they would only, if you have a list of all budgets and their budget usage, they would see a list of the budgets, but they wouldn't see the budget usage. I hope that answers it. I've joined late. I wonder if these are default reports or you created them yourself. I created them myself. I'm the proud owner. But you can take, basically, these were generally built using the reports library that you have in productive. So what I would generally suggest is, let me share my screen again. Let me get this out of the way. So simply head over to reports. This is the best way to start with reporting in productive. Head to reports, hit plus report, and then just either take like a tourist stroll through all of this to see what tickles your imagination, or you can just say something like, I don't know, I'm interested in profitability reports. Okay, profit. Cool, I have all of this at my disposal. So this shows me profitability by client. That's nice. Date is this year. I'm not interested in this year. I'm interested in this quarter. Time frame passed. No, I'm interested in the whole quarter. Client, sure. Stage type budget, sure. This makes sense, but I want to display some additional information here, and I want to visualize it differently. So the best way is to use the pre-made reports as a springboard, and then customize reports, save them, and plug them into your dashboard as you see fit. I hope that makes sense. Just hop over to Q&A here and just need to find it. Will, is the process for a new widget to create a report first before pulling it into a dashboard? That's a good question. I'm not sure if we cover that. So when you are in a dashboard, go here, you can either use this button here to pull in your already saved report that you have. The alternative is to just build a widget from scratch here. So if you click this button, use from scratch, and let's say bookings, right? I'm interested in bookings. So I'll go to the bottom. I'll see my new widget here, and then I can customize it like time of last week. And then I would set up the filters down here. When I'm done, save it, and I have my widget without ever having to create a report. This is a good way for, I would say, for advanced users that are already fairly familiar with Productive's reporting structure. With that said, and that's a universal rule, if you're ever stuck with creating a report, if you're not sure how to proceed, if you're not sure what all you can report on in Productive, always feel free to reach out to our support team, to your customer success manager, and we'll get you sorted out. Is there a report which shows written off time on invoice payments? Written off time on invoice payments. So I'm assuming you mean credit notes on that note. So I would say yes. We can go to a report. We can say, give me all of my invoices. And I think it's called invoice type. I'm correct. Is credit note. I don't have any on this note, on this organization, but you can see, okay, give me the credit notes. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, so we have the invoice type also listed here. Let me know if that helps, or if you're interested in specifically time, because I'm not sure how we can get to written off time. We can get to written off amounts on invoices. Can we show a project's progress based on our initial estimates and the remaining time to complete? Indeed, we can. So reports, we're going to build one from scratch here. I'm going to be using tasks. And the data that we want to see here is we want to see the initial estimate. We want to see the time to complete. And then you can have work time in the middle there if you want, because generally the initial estimate minus work time will be equal to time to complete. Then if you want, what you can also do is if you want to get fancy, you can add a formula and you can put in something like percentage complete. And I'm probably going to mess this up on the first attempt. Time to complete divided by initial estimate or the other way around. And it will tell me how much progress I've done on a specific task, on a specific project, right? Once I have this, it's simply a matter of grouping by project. And there we go. Ta-da. Do you know when the feature to show goals on a chart will be available? We have a whole slew of new features coming up regarding reports in the future. Most of them will land in the next 6 months, so I think that that will also land somewhere within the next 6 months. But if you have not already, be sure to reach out to either our support team or your success manager to let us know that this is a feature that's interesting to you, just so that we can, be 100% sure that we get back to you when the feature is out. Oh, and sorry, before we continue with the questions, let me just show you one thing real quick. One thing I forgot. That's why I have a reminder here. Show new stuff. So a few things that are coming up regarding reports. First up, the deal funnel report. The deal funnel report is going to look like this. This is an early draft, I think. The deal funnel report is different to everything that we have so far because its goal is not just to report on data as it is now, but to report on progress of the deals in your sales pipeline, right? So information such as in which stage do my deals get hung up the longest? How long do my deals rot in a specific stage? Stuff like that, right? So this is going to be a new report. We don't have a specific ETA on it, but we are working on it, so we're hoping to have it out soon. The second thing is the advanced filtering options, which we already showed. So, basically we call it the or operator, where you can say not just and give me all tasks with this and this and this, but you can also have give me tasks where this is like this or this is like this. I hope that makes sense. All right, back to questions. Oh, there's quite a few of them. Not sure we're gonna have time to go through all of them, but let's try. We're a company with different competences, and I want to service competence managers of the utilization of their team and the financials of their team. Is that doable, or is this dashboarding more project-centered? Different competences. Cool. So a competence, I'm assuming, is something that you have set up as a custom field on the people level. If it is, then it's something that you can definitely report on. So let me go back to our report. From scratch, capacity availability. Capacity availability is the best one to take a look at when you're building like utilization reports. And here I have department, but you can have competence on your end. It's all the same. So grouped by department. And then I have my utilization in the past for last month, or I can have it in the future with next month. Is that doable and the financials of their team? This is the same thing. So I'm assuming there are actually two ways that you can go about this. A person can have their manager, or you can have a manager look at the whole department, the way that I have it set up here. So if you want to take a look at the financials of the whole department, you would do the same thing that I have done somewhere around here. Yeah, my team's profitability, right? So give me the profitability of the people where I am their manager. The alternative here is give me the profitability of the entire design team, because I may not be the manager of everyone in the design team. Once you have this, and once you have the capacity and availability report, you can just put them side by side and show them to your, service competence managers. And let's see below a follow-up. So the iOS lead should see all his team members to see the performance in a dashboard of all iOS developers. Is this possible? Yes. So should see all his team members to see the performance in a dashboard of all. I think that is possible. I mean, there's no reason for your iOS lead to not have access to data regarding the developers. Just make sure that the lead has If you have private budgets or private projects, the lead should have access to those budgets and to those projects. Otherwise, the data from those budgets and projects will not be shown to the lead, right? Going back to what we discussed about permissions, if a person can't see something, the dashboard will not be able to share it with them. Sure. Yeah. If I hope that I answered your question, okay. But if I haven't, just ping me, let me know, and we can always sit down for a chat to go over it. Will says, thank you. Yeah, great. I'm glad that I understood correctly and that helped. Will you be doing a two-way integration with Xero so paid invoices get marked in productive? This is something that already exists. So when you are setting up that's wrong. When you are setting up your Xero integration, so Xero, somewhere down here we have the payment sync. So yeah, you just turn it on when you're setting up the integration, this little toggle thingy, and then payments will be synced back into productive. Let's do like two more questions, and then I think we'll have to call it a day. Okay, Linda's, we're good on that front. We're good on that front. Could you share your templates of the reports for the dashboards you've just showed? I'm not sure how I would be able to do that. However, what I will do is once this webinar has been done, once we have the recording, we'll be sending the recording out to everyone. And then, based on in the recording, you can go through each of these that I've shown, and then you'll see here in the widgets how I've actually structured them. I hope that helps. I hope that will be enough. But if it's not, if you're still stuck on anything, again, please reach out to the support team, reach out to your success manager, might even be me, and we'll be sure to go over to help you build your reports. Sometimes I can't use the chart view, but only the table view. I'm then simply not shown any data or graphics. Why is that? Quite possible because you're not grouping data. So if I do this, so I'm not showing any grouping. If I use chart, it's not giving me anything because it has nothing to group to show me. But if I group it by anything, I said anything. No, what do I have here? Tasks, group by, I don't know, date, due date. Chart type. I need to have a chart type. Donut, and then make it right. So you can do it like this. Let me know if that makes sense. If it doesn't, please let us know which specific example you're building, and then we'll help you out with that specific case. Okay, we have just a few more questions. So will it be possible to integrate Sage HR in Productive? I know that it will be. I'm not sure on the timeline off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure that you even can right now, but I would have to. Let's do what I always do, and that's go to the Help Center. Sage Accounting Integration. There we go. So you can actually already integrate Productive with Sage. I know that Sage has like 20 different types. So if this is not your type, then just let us know what you're looking for, and then I know that we have plans to further improve the integration or expand it. Is it possible to see someone else's task to-do list as a widget on your dash? That's a very good question. Currently, the answer is no. To-dos, whenever you have a to-do on a task, that task is treated as being assigned to the person that's assigned the to-do, right? So if we have John and Mark, and John is the owner of the assignee of the task, and Mark has just the to-do on that task, Mark will see the task as being assigned to him. So currently but you wouldn't be currently able to get a report like, give me a list of all to-dos where Mark is the assignee. That would not be possible at the moment. But I'm pretty sure that we have had requests or questions like that in the past. If you can, just reach out to either the support team, or if you know who your success manager is, to your success manager, just to discuss this specific use case to see if this is the exact same thing that you're trying to solve, and then we'll see what specific plans we have in the pipeline for that. Okay, great, thanks. All right, that's a lot of questions. I hope that this has been productive, no pun intended, and I hope that it's been useful. One thing that I have to mention before we split is the topic of our next office hours is very interesting. It's going to be automations. So if you're not familiar with automations, it's a feature that lets you, lo and behold, automate things in productive. You know, when something happens, do something else. It's a very useful and versatile tool that will help you, spend a lot less time doing repetitive and predictable actions. So yeah, it's gonna take place somewhere in a month. So you'll be receiving an email with the invitation. So be sure to join us then. Thanks a lot for your time today. I hope this has been useful. Please reach out to your support success managers and get your reports in place. That's a sign of a good and successful agency. Talk to you soon, everyone. Bye-bye.